What's going on, Falcons fans? Logan here. Welcome back to Rise Up Rundown, and if you're new here, welcome. So first off, there will not be an episode of Rise Up Rundown all of next week, because next week, me and my brother are going to take a little vacation. We're going to go overseas on a cruise ship and visit the Bahamas, and that will last for the week. And since we're overseas on a cruise ship, we're not going to have any Wi-Fi, so there will not be an episode of Rise Up Rundown all of next week. New episodes will return the following week. The second thing I wanted to say is, I feel like I've talked to you guys about how the Falcons need to draft an elite pass rusher, they also need an elite O-line, and they could get an elite running back if Dirk Koetter could step up the game. But I never really talked to you guys about how the secondary, to me, is a big question mark for the Atlanta Falcons. Do the Falcons need to draft a player on the secondary? Let's get into that. Let's look at the secondary players we have now. We have Desmond Trufant and Isaiah Oliver at corner. Kendall Sheffield will sometimes step in as well. Not to mention that Damontae KZ is at nickel. Then at safety we have Keon ONeill and Ricardo Allen. Obviously, I gotta give out my takes on these guys before I go into if we should draft a DB in the first round or really in any rounds of the draft. And my take on all these guys, they're okay. Desmond Trufant did not have himself a good year in 2019, even though he had 4 interceptions, which is the most he's ever had in a single season, but nonetheless, he did underachieve. I'm willing to give him a second chance, as maybe last year was just kind of off, he could bounce back. Isaiah Oliver and Kendall Sheffield, these players are almost the exact same. They're both very young, but they also kind of get picked on by opposing teams. The opposing team seems to always want to throw it their way because they know they're probably going to let up a big play, and usually that's kind of the case. Now, they both have showed flashes throughout the season, and ironically enough, I saw that happen in one game. The Week 2 Sunday night game versus the Eagles. On the second half kickoff, Kendall Sheffield punches out the football from the Eagles, and the Falcons take over to start the second half. And Isaiah Oliver saved the game by tackling Zach Ertz short of the first down. So they both weren't terrible, they showed some nice things, but they did definitely show some more bad things than good. Am I confident that they stepped things up? Not really, to be honest with you. Damontae KZ at nickel, he's alright. I barely heard his name be called throughout the season, but I do give him some credit because he just got moved to nickel. Maybe he just needed some experience. Now, he also in the previous year was moved to safety, and he was tied for leading the league in interceptions. So it's kind of like he had no excuse since he can play any position, but I'll let it pass. It was only his second year in the league. So for our corners, we're pretty young and still developing, except Trufant obviously, but what about our safeties? Our safeties are veterans. Keon ONeill, you guys know I love Keon ONeill, but first off, he's not really used to be a safety in a way. His coverage skills are average, but he's used more like a linebacker or like a Cam Chancellor, how he just kind of comes in for the big hit. And Keon ONeill can do that for sure, but 2 concerns here. For one thing, the whole point of a safety is to cover receivers. It's great that you can tackle, but you gotta cover too. And the second thing, how can we really rely on a hard hitter if he's just had back-to-back injured seasons? That leads into my second issue with keeping Keon ONeill. He's kind of injury prone. You can't really sit here and say he's a good player if he just kind of keeps getting injured. And Ricardo Allen, the player that I've been claiming is overrated. Now, before I begin, when I say he's overrated, I don't mean he's a bad player. I mean that as in, he's just not as good as everyone makes him out to be. I love that he studies film and he has okay coverage skills, but the first issue I have with him is he's injury prone. Like, come on, don't keep someone if he's just going to keep getting injured. And 2, he lets up big plays kind of a lot. And you might point to his interception numbers, but a lot of the interceptions he gets is kind of off of luck. I know the 2 examples I'm about to give out were a while back, but look at the Week 1 game versus the Eagles 2015. It was tipped in the air and easy to catch. Or against the Seahawks in the divisional round 2016, also tipped in the air and easy to catch. I don't feel proud of myself that I'm about to totally downgrade a player, but all the big plays seem to be given up mainly by Ricardo Allen, and the big plays he lets up is always like a big play, like a big play to totally change the game. Now, again, I don't hate Ricardo Allen. I think as a player, he's fine. He's better than most other safeties, but he simply isn't as good as everyone makes him out to be. So I kind of ripped on our secondary, but then I also kind of tried to praise it at the same time. This just further proves to me, at least, that the secondary is okay. And I'm going to tell you the truth right here and right now. The Falcons are going to do absolutely nothing to this area of the team. They're going to keep who they got. And to finally answer the question on should the Atlanta Falcons draft a DB in the draft, I think yes, but not in the first round. The first round, you gotta get pass rush, no excuses. Then in the second half, try and find a great O-lineman, and somewhere in the third or fourth, get yourself a safety. Corners are still kind of young and developing, but safeties to me have question marks. Why not grab safeties just in case Keon ONeill and Ricardo Allen don't work out? And the great thing is you don't totally need to grab two of them, since we can just put KZ at safety to replace one of them. Neil or Allen, it doesn't really matter. And Kendall Sheffield at nickel corner. That can work out. But to me, safeties need to be fixed. Who exactly should we draft? I don't know yet, but someone that can work out in Dan Quinn's defense. But that's my take on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, there will not be an episode of Rise Up Rundown all of next week. I'll see you guys the week after that. As always, rise up.